You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Howdy, everyone. Welcome to the premiere episode of the 2023 Dragon Con Report. We begin our 12th season covering the con we love so much. I'm your host, Mike Gordon, and I'm pleased to introduce you to the rest of our station crew. Darren, once again, is with us again.
Hi, everybody. What's up?
12 seasons. Can you believe it?
12 seasons.
That's goes by fast, doesn't it?
It does. It goes by really quickly, y'all.
just like the time between now and the 2023 con will go by really fast.
It will not take but a minute for it to be here, I assure you.
I know.
And all
right?
the cosplayers out there are like, "Shut up, Darren. Shut up. We know. Stop." You know, it's like, it's the way it is. It's the way it is. So,
absolutely.
For sales from Joanne's. Come on.
And speaking of other cosplayers, Jen is back with us as well this season.
Hello.
Howdy. How goes things?
Good. Trying not to freeze, but it's not as cold in Texas as it is with y'all, but it's cold for me.
The weather is crazy everywhere. I don't know. I had lost track of how long Jen has been with us. Probably about 5 years or so, right?
I think 3 seasons as an official co-host with y'all, but y'all brought me on as a guest for a couple years before that.
We roped you in.
Yeah. No, I think I bullied my way in.
Well, I'm pleased to announce to everybody that we've got a new crew member joining us for the entire season this year, and that is our good friend Channing Sherman is here.
Yay!
Hello. Happy to be joining the crew. Looking forward to it, and I will try not to embarrass anyone.
You know what? If that was an aspect that we really held dear, then I don't think any one of us would be here
10 years ago, easily.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Channing, we're glad to have you join us. For those people who are tuning in, tell us a little about yourself and your history with Dragon Con.
My name's Channing Sherman. I've been going to Dragon Con since 2008. I'm one of the founders of the Black Geeks of Dragon Con, where we kind of promote one section of the diversity there. I'm what you call an all-around nerd. There's no one field that I'm an expert in, but I just like a little bit of everything. So animation, technology, military, sci-fi, anime I'm getting into. So a little bit of everything. Awesome. Just enough to keep things interesting.
Awesome. Well, we are glad to have you. And how long have you been going to Dragon Con?
Since 2008. I missed 1 year because of some personal stuff, but yeah, I've been a regular since 2008.
Awesome.
Should have bought that eternal membership when I had the chance.
I know, right?
All of us.
I think it was only like $12 when I started going. No, just kidding. I mean, I think it was only like $500 when I
it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a lot, but
it still was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, back then it was a lot for me. Too much for me. But anyway, welcome to the team. It's going to be a great season. We've got so much to cover. Even in this early episode, people are like, "Wow, why do you start the Dragon Con report so early?" The podcast, like the con's not till Labor Day weekend, but they had a directors meeting last weekend, so they're already moving and doing stuff. So there's a lot to talk about even now. And to address the elephant in the chat room, where is Director?
We're calling him now.
where is Director Faber? He's still with us.
Wait a minute! You do not call me the elephant in the room.
I knew that would bring him out.
Damn it! I was supposed to be pulled away, and you pulled me back in.
Director Faber is now Producer Faber.
Exactly.
He's still with us, of course, working his magic. But Mike, you've decided to take on more of a producer role this year.
I have, because we're going to be doing this more interactive and everything, and basically what I've been hoping for us to do is have somebody wholly focus on the chat rooms and being able to answer questions and stuff so you guys can continue talking and everything. And I decided to take that upon myself. And you know what? It's great to see everybody, but I'm going away. No more elephant chips. I've lost weight. Bye.
I knew we could bring him out somehow. So,
So I'm feeling Mike's
why do we do
shoes.
this? Because it's literally end of January. It's 7 months till con.
yes, 7 months. That's amazing.
Sink in. 7 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Panic.
Okay, so let's get some business out of the way. We're a proud member of the ESO network. Those people who don't know that, we have a TeePublic store filled with all kinds of cool stuff, including a very cool design for the Dragon Con Report podcast. The logo is really cool. I think it was new of last year. There's a link for that in the top of the episode show notes, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can just click. You can go to the ESO network page. It'll take you right there. We also have a Patreon page, and we thank all our patrons, all our supporters. We really do appreciate it. If you're tuning into our show via Facebook or YouTube, watching us, welcome, howdy. And the audio version of our show is still available in all the usual places: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, Audible.com, etc., etc., etc. In addition, you can always access past episodes at DragonConReport.com. However you access our show, please like and share. Like and share, like and share, like and share. We really do appreciate that. If you want to leave us direct feedback or comment on the show, please feel free to email us at feedback@DragonConReport.com. We're also available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All of us have personal accounts as well. Feel free to reach out to us. Now, also, Dragon Con Report, this podcast is an unofficial podcast of the con. We do not have any official ties with the convention that we love so much. We do attend. Some of us are in guest status. Some of us have various other roles with the convention, but we are not. This podcast is not part of that official, whatever they are. An entity.
We don't work for them.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't work for them. So we are not and have ever been officially connected with them. So for all official news, we strongly recommend going to the official website, checking out their official social media outlets, contacting them directly if you have specific questions regarding your membership or anything else of that nature. So, now we're going to get started with some news and notes. Because like I said, there's already news. Dragon Con will return, of course, this year, August 31st through September 1st, which is the Labor Day weekend. Memberships, of course, are already available online. Last time I checked, they were still at the $110 level. So I think that's still accurate, although I'm not sure when they're slated to go up. I don't know if anybody knows that information. But also, I believe Eternal memberships, which we were just talking about, are $4,000. So, if you think you might be going for a long time, back then, like we said, back when I started going in 20, it was 1994 was my first convention, my first Dragon Con convention that I went to, and I haven't missed one since then. Eternal memberships were much cheaper then, and you think you might not be able to use them, but I think there's a lot of people who do have Eternal memberships, and there's a lot of benefits to that as well. All memberships, whether they're Eternal or single, however you buy your memberships, day passes, whatever, they're non-refundable, non-transferable. So once you have them, they're yours to keep. The other news we have, like I said, they had a directors meeting at just over the weekend, and the first item of business was, I believe, that the big news that came out, and this was released on all their websites as well, was the official charity of Dragon Con. Now, they did amazingly. They raised a lot of money. I think that was one of the first times they've ever really reached their goals for the official charity last year, which was Opahan Atlanta. And Dragon Con increased, not only matched it, but they increased their match. So they're going to increase it again this year. And they're going to direct their efforts to the charity is Cure Childhood Cancer. It is a great cause. You can find out more about it. We'll have a link in our show notes to it, but you can look it up. Cure, I believe Cure is all capitalized, and they do great work. I mean, childhood cancer. You can't say anything bad about that one, right? Right. That's pretty much a no-brainer. But so they're, like I said, I'm not sure exactly what their goal is, but I believe like I said, it's higher than last year because they want to keep doing more. And with the blood drives and everything else they do, Dragon Con is still, like, I think the charity is one of the best parts about the show. Yeah, they do a lot of good work for a lot of people. I believe on that note, there's also a volunteer meeting, not the volunteer meeting, sorry, but the they've announced the community. Man, I've got my notes here and I'm screwing it up. Sorry, but they've got
first episode, folks.
It's only our first episode, right? We're still trying to get over
first
it.
Word syllable, Mike.
I mean,
we'll help you sound it out.
Are we even 100% over last year's con?
No.
I mean, is it no?
No.
Volunteer meetings. For those people who want to get involved, they're always looking for volunteer meetings. If you're local to the Atlanta area, you can actually attend them in person at the Marriott. March 19th is the first one scheduled. Actually, the July 16th one will be held at the Hilton. And they have other fun things. The volunteer appreciation event this year will be at Dave and Buster's at Sugarloaf Parkway. So that's fun stuff. But if you want to get involved, it's not too early. Like, you can get involved now. You can apply to be a volunteer on the official website. You can also, if you want to get involved with any of the tracks, a lot of the track directors are already starting to look for content and panel information. So
also, you do not need to live local to be a volunteer. And they have started streaming their volunteer meetings as well. So those out of town can take part of it. But I have quite a few friends here in Texas that volunteer and work the full amount of hours and do not have any problem getting all the information they need to successfully be able to work the con.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds weird, but my wife is relatively new to Dragon Con. She volunteered at her first one just because there was some things she was interested in, but not a lot. So she just kind of said, hey, I volunteer to help cut down the cost. And she enjoys it. And again, as a first timer, for her to get involved with that, I think she kind of felt like it was a good way to kind of dip her toe in to the Dragon Con lifestyle without going fully into crazy. So yeah, I'd encourage people, if you're kind of on the fence about it, find a track that needs your skills and give it a shot.
Absolutely. We encourage that big time. Now, there are some logistical announcements that were made at the directors' meeting as well. First and foremost, concourse performances will not happen in the Westin this year, just in the Hyatt. And I think this is on a related note. They are moving author signatures to the Westin. I think they were previously, I think, in the basement of the Marriott. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're making the Westin more author based.
I wonder if that's because a lot of the authors tend to hang out at the bar there and have their own. Well, I don't mean just drinking, but they have a lot of their personal meetups with each other there, and they do informal meetups with their fans at the Westin as well.
It would also make sense to have readings in such in a quieter area, so I can see them not wanting to be near bands while they're doing reading in a room right there. You know?
That's wild, cutting off one stage though.
I don't even remember seeing any performers at the Westin.
They had a full day.
Schedule. They had a schedule for bands, but I would bet that they will replace that stage with another stage elsewhere. More than likely.
I don't know. He just said they would only be at the Westin. I mean, only be at the Hilton.
Yeah.
Only at the Hilton.
Yeah. So just the spot down there that gets really crowded.
Yeah, seriously.
Well,
if that's the plan. That's the plan. It means less concourse.
More info as we find out about it. That's just what I heard from that was announced. I'm sure if we have questions, we can more information will come to us. I'm not sure when they plan on having the town meeting start, but I would imagine probably did they start in March last year?
I think maybe the end of March.
Yeah. So
around March.
So there's still a lot of information. It's just like everything else at Dragon Con. It's not official until
subject to change until after it happens. Yes,
exactly. And even then, we're not really sure.
Did that actually occur? Yeah, it did.
Exactly. Did it really?
Was that a panel? Really?
Okay. I don't believe it happened unless I see myself in the photos. That's my rule of Dragon.
Hey, I see myself in the photos and don't remember those.
Yeah, thank you.
So
tag settings in Facebook are your friends, people.
So where there have been the guest announcement applications or the guest applications went out a little bit earlier than they did last year. So people have been Sarah? Have already been applying. So I definitely suggest checking that out if you're interested in participating that way. Same thing with performers and everything as vendors, all that. All those applications are available. Now is the time to start doing that.
I saw they've already brought back one of the DJs who's listed on their website.
Yes. There is a performer listed, Nemesis, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Nemesis. Yep.
And there's also a few other guests listed as well. So without further ado, we will do our monthly guest announcement list. so again, if you're playing at home, every time we mispronounce something, feel free to take a drink of whatever the beverage of your choice. But I think since Channing's our new crew member, we will start the proceedings with him. If you could read the first person on the list, please.
All right. I want to mention they did not put reading in the job description for this. Okay. Eric R. Asher is the author of over 30 titles, including the Vesic Urban Fantasy series and the YA steampunk series Steamborn. He is currently living in St. Louis, Missouri, where the local folklore often finds his way into the Mason-Dixon Monster Hunter Rural Fantasy series.
Ed Brisson is a comic book writer who first started to garner attention with his self-published crime series Murder Book and the crime time travel thriller series Comeback. He's written and co-created 4 other series published by Image: Sheltered, The Field, The Mantle, and The Violent.
Jack Campbell, John C. Henry, retired U.S. Navy officer, writes the New York Times best-selling Lost Fleet series, Genesis Fleet series, Lost Stars series, and steampunk meets high fantasy Pillars of Reality series. His latest books are Implacable, the Empress of the Endless trilogy, and Corsair comic series.
Dr. Robert E. Hampson is a world-renowned neuroscientist leading a team to develop the first prosthetic device for the restoration of human memory. He's also a sci-fi author with 5 novels, 2 anthologies, and 50 works of short fiction and nonfiction.
John G. Hartness is an author, publisher, and podcaster from Charlotte, North Carolina. He is the author of multiple novel series, including the award-winning Quincy Harker Demon Hunter series. He is also the co-founder and publisher of Falstaff Books and a member of the Authors and Dragons live D&D podcast.
Leanna Renee Heiber, or Heber, take a drink either way, folks, is an actress, ghost tour guide, and award-winning best-selling author of Gothic, Gaslamp, fantasy fiction, paranormal nonfiction, such as A Haunted History of Invisible Women for Tor and Kensington Books. A 4-time Prism Award winner, Heiber has been featured on Mysteries at the Museum and Beyond the Unknown.
Gail Z. Martin writes urban fantasy, steampunk, and more for Orbit Books, Falstaff Books, SOL Publishing, and Darkwind Press. Urban fantasy series include Deadly Curiosities and Night Vigil. Epic fantasy series include Darkhurst Chronicles of the Necromancer, Fallen King Cycle, Ascendant Kingdoms, and Assassins of Landria.
Van Allen Plexico is a multi-award-winning writer best known for the Sentinels illustrated superhero novels and comics, 1960s crime novels, and the shattering space opera universe. His White Rocket Entertainment Network features multiple video and podcast channels covering James Bond, Babylon 5, The Avengers, and more.
Timothy Zahn is the author of 16 Star Wars books and the Cobra Quadrill, Sybil's War, and Dragonback series. Recent books include Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil, The Icarus Plot, and A Call to Insurrection with David Weber and Thomas Pope. Upcoming books include The Icarus Twin.
And that's the list as it is right now. Like, it's pretty short. It's probably the shortest one we'll get all year. In addition to the official guest, and we've already mentioned the performer, Nemesis, that's going to be attending as well. They have a list of attending pros, and some of our really good friends have already been accepted as attending pros, including Kevin Batchelder, Tyra Burton, Jason and Rita De La Torre, Tony P. Henderson, Rob Levy, James Palmer, and Michael G. Williams. So congratulations to all of those folks and everybody involved in getting approved for guest status. More to come. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, you guys can rest easy because it's just going to get harder from here as far as the list goes.
Now the reading's going to end up taking like 45 minutes of future episodes.
Well, we'll try to figure out a way that we could trim that a bit. But yeah, I mean it's substantial. I know. So.
Anybody want to go in on a copy of Hooked on Phonics with me?
Well, we'll see what we could do about that. We'll see We'll see if we can get an intern, to work on that stuff with you. So those are the guest announcements. I think that's all the news that we have really that's come out. Anything else that you guys have heard? Still early.
Yeah, still early.
Okay. So now don't want to get off the year to a negative start. So, but I did think it was interesting to, at this point in time, start the year by discussing some changes, some improvements that we would like to see that in our favorite con. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk all about that. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We got a lot of feedback on this already, so we appreciate that. But when we come back, we will get into that big time. So the break is for the audio people. For the video people,
we're still here.
We're still here.
Talk with them, make schmooze. Do something, guys.
All right. How loud is the pug snoring? Can everybody hear the pug snoring?
Yes. I'm just glad I know it's a pug now. That's all I care about.
Yeah. I thought it was just really bad gas.
I tried to kick them out of the room, but then they started literally kicking the door, and it was like, well, that's going to be louder than the snoring.
Yeah.
Our friend Sarah Rose, the drinking game is the best.
I gave you one, Sarah. It was a short list. It was.
It was.
Time, so.
Oh, my mother-in-law's watching. Hi, Connie.
That's awesome.
So, are the pug snoring part of the drinking game? Do we take a sip every time we hear them?
No, because then we'd be drinking.
As long as you're sure that it's the pug snoring. Darren thought I had porn going on.
I thought I had someone else's.
Knowing Darren, yes, that's what he thought. So it's understandable.
And I'm like, wait, what is that? It sounded. It didn't. It was not proper chanting. It was not proper.
So I'm not sure exactly how many people we have watching us already, but and listening to us and all that on YouTube and Facebook and everything. But welcome everybody. It's awesome to have you join us so early in the year, and thanks for everybody who made comments to our posts over the last few days. We're overwhelmed with comments.
We got a lot of comments.
Like who knew? People have opinions.
But everyone who was doing it though, they thought that we were Dragon Con.
There was a few people.
That's a problem. We're not Dragon Con. Yeah.
I guess in the future we got to do the all caps.
We are not
con. This is just a discussion post.
That's why I created the scroll on the
bottom.
What?
They're still going to think
not affiliated with Dragon Con.
I don't know how many times we say, but people just are going to think that they're going to think.
There could be people who are new, who haven't heard of us.
What if we call ourselves San Diego Con and still confuse people more?
They will
Darren, there's a
really...
new podcast that you can host next.
San Diego Comic-Con.
That is definitely an idea.
Then we'll
And
get...
then we just show up at.
We're
then we
not
just show up at
affiliated
San
with
Diego.
Dragon Con at all.
Dragon Con. I like that, Sarah. That's a good one. So
somebody years ago sold a in the vendor hall. They had a Shatner shirt yelling "Con," but they put Dragon Con on it, and I was just like, "That is the best shirt I've ever seen." So we bought it.
Okay,
Like you do.
I think let's keep the show going, kids.
All right, so that's the free content you guys get. So I know it's not a lot, but it's free. So Sarah remembers.
I
do have to acknowledge that Sarah remembers when we were Dragon Con, which is pretty amazing. That was a long time ago. So
That was a while ago.
Wait, wasn't it the Dragon Con report?
Something like
cons?
that.
Yeah.
I think it was the Dragon Con.
It was just the Dragon Con report.
Well, I can seem to remember one of you at the beginning of the show saying, "Welcome to the Dragon Con report."
We probably were
thought we
drunk
were a
or
Mulan
something.
podcast, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
There was episodes when we were drinking apple pie during the episode.
You've given me a great cosplay idea now. I'm going to be Dragon Con. So I'm going to have like the con outfit with the chest out. It's going to have the Marriott carpet pattern on it.
Oh, you will be so popular.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
And people will be mad that they didn't think of it.
I want to see you in the long wig. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Just fabulous.
All right, let's get started with the next segment, folks.
All right, let's get into it. 3, 2. Welcome back, everybody. And now it's time to talk about. I mean, look, we love Dragon Con. We want to make that perfectly clear. I would not devote all the time and energy and resources that we do for the Dragon Con Report podcast, and I wouldn't have gone for the last 20 years.
Don't do the math.
if I didn't love the show.
I wouldn't fly across the country.
Yes, absolutely. We love the convention. There's no question of that. But there is room for improvement, and certainly. I wouldn't mind talking about that and seeing what you guys feel like maybe just little, constructive criticisms to help improve our wonderful experience, not just for us, but for everybody attending. Jen, we'll start with you. Did you have anything specific in mind when the topic was raised?
Well, I first want to bring up that, occasionally the comment threads can veer a little bit negative with people saying that points get brought up every year, but changes don't get made. So I just want to bring up that changes actually do get made every year. They're just not necessarily going to be in the area that you want them. Every event has spots that can be improved. They just can't make all the improvements at once in the same year. It's just not logistically possible. Plus, a lot of the changes so many of us, I think, have brought up and would like to see happen require more volunteers. I don't believe they've gotten back up to the level of volunteers they had since before the Panini. So, we have to, hopefully each year more people are going to sign up to volunteer. So yet again, another reason to sign up to volunteer, folks, is departments always need help. And the more volunteers there are, the smoother the event is going to run.
Yeah, and two things about that, Jim. Sorry to interrupt, but two things that strike me when you just said. First of all, yes, any change that is implemented, it has that butterfly effect. It affects everything, and it's going to affect things at the con that you wouldn't even think it would affect, right? So that there's a lot of moving parts with Dragon Con, and so if you tinker with one thing, it might offset something else. Plus, change comes from within. So if you really feel strongly and want to make changes to Dragon Con, volunteer, be involved, because that's how you can really get changes get made and how you can find out why things are the way they are.
Yeah, because we don't have those answers. We don't know why they are what they are.
Exactly.
But I'd say, and I did see this brought up multiple times. I know we talked about it at our recap show last year. Please, somebody talk to the new manager at the Hilton and let's have some better communication and expectations of what's happening there. I know the hotels speak to the con. Contracts have to be signed, expectations have to be laid out. It just seems like last year that the Hilton in particular decided to do a bunch of things and not really communicate that until, hey, those of us who showed up on Wednesday saw signs, except for the event page they put up for Nikolai's Reef Tavern to have that private party up there that went smashingly well, I might add.
I'm sensing that was dripping with sarcasm.
There's a sarcasm emoji that someone in the chat can use.
Yes. But, I have to think that the Hilton heard a lot of feedback. We know they heard a lot of feedback. Hopefully they've learned that you can't just jump in and try to take more advantage of con attendees by charging more for your own private event on a con property. Hopefully they've learned they were a little bit too gung-ho about bag checks and alcohol not beyond this point, especially since some of that alcohol they were nabbing people about was literally bought at Trader Vic's on their property. And I'd like to see a return to when, obviously it's going to be when it was a previous manager, but when they were doing like the Jurassic Park theme and the Stranger Things themes, and before where it suddenly became the party hotel.
Mm-hmm. Not the shake you down for your pennies thing.
Not the let me kick you off the back patio at 10 o'clock thing, to where you can't even go out there and smoke after 10 o'clock, which is just weird. Why would you want everyone outside your front door and lobby smoking when historically you should send them to the place that has the ashtrays?
Right.
True.
And it wasn't even a party hotel thing. They really they one of the hotels for a while that really seemed to get the con and con goers.
Yeah.
That was one of the hotels, especially for me, maybe even more so than the Marriott. I could walk in and be like, okay, I'm home. Like, this is the start. And they kind of threw some of that away last year.
Well, it's the first hotel I stayed at.
I think the Hilton is an OG hotel too. I think they're one of the first hotels. It hasn't always been 5 hotels. It used to just be one hotel. Like when it first started, it was one, and I think that one was the Hilton. So they have the most history with it, and unfortunately, I think they did get some. There was some bad negative stuff that came out of what they did there, and as a company. As a corporation, certainly at the end of the year when the Hilton in London decided to get rid of Trader Vic's there, I did not appreciate that at all. So the company has not pleased me in the last few months. So I've never stayed there. And for those people who, we're going to our next episode. Spoiler alert! But our next episode, we're gonna talk about all 5 host hotels in a lot more detail. So
doesn't it seem like every year though we get a hotel that acts a fool?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Somebody
always
always
going to be, but one of them is going to act a fool.
Yeah.
Wait,
the year before that, it was the Sheraton, right?
Who's got the new manager this year? That's going to be the one.
Probably. Yeah. Who thinks they're going to take on Dragon Con, right?
I'm waiting for.
They're going to make the changes to blow it out of the park. Everyone
so,
thinks
all right. Channing, anything that came to mind when you heard what the topic was going to be?
A lot of things came to mind. First, I thought of the really wild that you hear at the end of every year, which I'm not going to repeat now because I don't want to start any conspiracy theories that they might be happening. But some of the more reasonable ones that I think Dragon Con has some control over, and hear me out on this one, I kind of want them to bring back the Armory. And keep in mind, I don't know the politics of why the Armory isn't there anymore, but that was actually one of my favorite things in years past. And I get that guns are a touchy subject. Totally understand. But the armory also had, displays of swords, spears, crossbows, hand-to-hand weapons. They also put on some really good demonstrations of using those weapons. So I wouldn't mind seeing the armory come back in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I get that you probably don't want to have a room with AK-47s and rocket launchers mounted on the wall, but I think you can still kind of incorporate that in there. I think one year they did a panel on sci-fi weaponry. So I think you could kind of incorporate some of that in there and hopefully not offend people. So that was one of the first ones that I thought of.
Wow, that's a good one. I didn't even know that was a thing, actually. I didn't I'd never really come across that in any way, shape, or form. I didn't know that went away. I didn't even know it was there to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it used to be in the I'm losing my mind, in the Hyatt. It was down in one of the lower floors of the Hyatt, if I remember correctly. And just two small rooms, but just had a bunch of displays, and then another small room for some presentations.
Yeah, I would imagine it would require a lot of attention.
Since I've been at Dragon Con, there are only two events where I've seen armed law enforcement officers. I'm talking private security, but actual, police or sheriffs. The Armory and the Burlesque Show. It's the only two places. So draw your own conclusions from that. You got to protect what's important.
Awesome. And other people agree too in the chat, I see. Darren, what about you? What is something that is there something that's been a long time concern, or maybe a more recent concern for you?
No, this is a continuing concern, and I'm gonna. It's based on Mike's story from last year, where he couldn't get into the Westin with the media badge that he had on. I think Dragon Con can do a better job of training either whether it's the hotel security or private security or the volunteers on looking at the badges and knowing which badge is what badge. Because being told you can't access an area after you've been given a badge, whether it's a free badge in exchange for coverage or you've paid for a badge as a member, is really disheartening, because this is not a cheap week and you want to have a pleasant time at the con. And I think 95% of our volunteers and the security and the hotel staff are typically absolutely perfect. They're great. Don't get me wrong. But that 5% of people who are not as customer service oriented, and they let you know it right away, like the bag checks thing, which was completely an overreach, I think, on the Hilton's part. And the people screaming at you, you need to line up outside. That's okay if you're screaming and there's no one like near you, but if there are people standing like 10 feet near you, you don't need to scream. You need to just find that medium tone voice and tell people, please go outside. And just don't tell them to go outside. Tell them where that line is. Tell them to go outside. There's like 5 lines outside. Where does that line start? There needs to be more organization on that level. If someone's trying to get into a room and that line's not there and you're not going to let them in, then where do they go specifically? Not just go outside the hotel. Yeah, because that line might be gone by the time you get out the hotel because they brought the line in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that type of miscommunication. That line didn't start there. That line starts over here now. You've been waiting in it 30 minutes over here. We all know they don't start a line until an hour before an event. But we also know, yes, they do. So, I know that's the official line, but when you've got a big media star, that line starts early. And don't tell me it doesn't, because I've seen it start early. And I've seen Dragon Con volunteers tell people to line up there. And that's okay. You don't have to have that rule for every panel, but you need to be more helpful, one, with reading those badges for security's sake, and two, for helping people get to where they need to be. They're not mind readers. Many of them have not been to this con before, and they don't know to go to a baker's or a con room, basically. If you tell them it's 2 minutes till the thing starts, and you tell them you need to go outside, it's going to take them 15 minutes to get outside.
especially that one line from the Hilton. You have to go down the line. No, the line in the Hyatt.
Down Peachtree.
You have to go down the weird hallway and then up these stairs
hallways
and then out
back
to
and
the
through.
sides. Yeah.
I did that like 3 years ago. It was pre-pandemic. It was like there were only 50 people in the room. It was a big ballroom. There was no reason to send people outside. To try to find the one door on the outside that no one was at, and no one said, "Hey, your panel is here," because they're like, "Oh, well, this room started already. We don't have to stand here anymore." They were gone.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that they really need to work on that logistical stuff.
Yeah.
That's really frustrating for people.
Absolutely. Regarding the badges, that's one thing I've noticed as well is that, this is my badge from last year. And it's got the guest status on it. My little vendor sticker is over here, right? That's dark and hard to see. Like when you're going from like really quickly in a line from building to building. Like I think they need to make it a little bit more obvious. The not just the badges, but what level of the badges that they are. Because if someone's looking at them, and that person needs to know exactly what every single kind of badge is so they can recognize it. So if they see something they don't recognize, they don't instantly flip out and assume that that person is has a counterfeit one. But I think they could do a better job at making it like, I mean, I don't, you don't want neon letters screaming like, "Hey, I'm a guest," but something to that nature where it's like, oh, okay, well, I recognize that. So like, especially if you're trying to get to a panel, so you're kind of, skipping through the line, or you're trying to get to the head of the line or whatever. I think, that would, a lot of people would feel better, especially in line, if they saw your badge and they could say, "Oh, well, he's, he needs to get to that panel, or he needs to do this." So I concur with that too. It's not just the staff, but I think the badges could be designed a little bit better so that they indicated, different, whatever the different volunteer, like even a volunteer badge, volunteer badge, guest badge,
a member, a guest badge, a vendor badge,
all the different kind of badges that they have. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I think that could be, they could be designed just a little bit better.
Speaking of being able to get around, I think, and this is something I see brought up every year. And again, I don't know how to fix it, but I think at this point, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to help mobility all across the board. There is issues with getting into every hotel, whether you are able-bodied, whether you are on a wheelchair, a scooter, whether that means dedicating a volunteer from one of the departments to help with elevators, with people being able to get on and off if they need ADA access, instead of everyone just shoving into an elevator and watching the person in a wheelchair and ignoring them, that they haven't been there waiting before you. We know every hotel is supposed to have easy access for everyone. That's not always the case. And it's certainly not the case with the vendor hall. At least not last year.
No,
we all had we all had our moments with the way the line was handled, and going up and downhill and around the corner, in the heat, in some cases, in the rain, and just having one entrance. There's some people that just can't be trekking all that way, be standing in that line, be out in the elements. Whether that is, let's create separate lines for the people who can't stand out there. Now, technically, you're supposed to be able to not have to stand in the line if you have the sticker that you've gotten from the services,
right?
Disability services.
Yep.
But I've had to use a sticker a few times in the past. I've never had it happen to me, but I have watched other people be turned away, and not because of capacity.
No, it's because the mindset is you need to get to the back of the line, and if I let you through, then everyone else is going to want to be let through, and they're not at the back of the line. And I get that sometimes volunteers have to make those tough calls. I get that. But if someone's got the disability sticker on their badge and they point it out to you, hey, I can't hang out here for whatever reason it is, it's none of their business. If they got if they got the disability sticker, That's it. That's the end of the argument, in my opinion. And you should let them in. You don't have to let the rest of their party in. Let them line, or maybe one person with them as a caretaker or whatever.
Well, technically, that's what they're supposed to be able to have one person who can get in with them.
Yeah, you can't let a pack of 10 people in with you. I get that totally. That's completely unfair. But that person and one person with them, that's completely fair, and that shouldn't even be a question.
But like even letting people into an elevator. There's the one lady, going back to the Hilton. There's the one lady who the Hilton set somebody watching their elevators, and making sure people are getting on the right one. And they did switch out a few times, but I've seen, people just cut in line in front of somebody on a scooter or wheelchair or crutches. And even the person watching and guarding the elevators is just letting it happen. When you can obviously
that's a problem right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of that goes back to just training or just a lack of empathy. Because I stayed in the Hilton, so I know what you're talking about. I think the person that was assigned to stand there was just there to kind of stop there from being a stampede, nothing more, nothing less.
Well, and stop people from trying to go to Nikolai's.
Right. Yeah. They had that. They were behind the podium. And usually they just stayed behind the podium. They weren't trying to, help people or kind of, guide people through. And I think that kind of goes back to some of what Darren said earlier, just some better training and coordination among the 3 or 4 different types of security there.
Yeah, but we've already talked, all the things that we talked about so far, as Jen pointed out, would require much more volunteers than we've seen them have. And if that's continuing to be a shortage, obviously if they want to expand on the attendance, like I think they probably will this year, the more people you get, you're going to need more people to handle them.
You're going to have to unfortunately break down and pay for some security. Pay for some trained security people and teach them what these badges, and have them at the elevators or whatever, or work closer with the hotels and say, we mean it. Now, I've been a Hyatt guy for a while now, and I've noticed that the hotel staff is really good about not letting people in from the mall into the Hyatt without badges. They are really good about that. That's all it takes. Talk to the Hyatt, right? And most of the people in the Hyatt that I've seen, we all kind of band together. If someone with a wheelchair shows up in the elevator bay, that's it. They're the next person getting on an elevator. I don't care which way it's going, up or down. They get on the elevator next. Because they can't use the stairs. If someone else has an issue, obviously that would be different. But they're the obvious one, right? And people tend to ignore and to be selfish. They tend to want to just do what they want to do and ignore that, and make it someone else's problem. But it's all of our problem. We're a con community. We have to take care of each other.
Yeah, there are always bad actors, but you're right. Dragon Con is real good at self-policing for things like that. I'll give people credit. There's way more good people than bad people there.
Yes, and there are people with disabilities that aren't obvious. I don't mean to say that those people don't need to be taken care of as well. I'm just thinking visually, what you're probably going to see is someone either with a support animal or someone in a wheelchair or on crutches or something like that who obviously needs help. That doesn't help anyone who's got autism or severe anxiety or whatever, might be having a meltdown or whatever. So we have to be aware of everything going on around us. That's just the way that is.
The one I wanted to talk about, the one that came to mind immediately, is something I've run across the last few conventions as well, ever since the Artist Alley, the comic book Pop Artist Alley has moved over to America's Mart. And that is that
it's a pain in the ass.
There are two things. There are two things that that's a good idea, Karen, and we'll get to that in a second. There are two things that that I hate to hear from people I know at Dragon Con that want to see me. One is that they came by my table and I wasn't there. And because I was off doing a panel or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that they were not going to stand in line for an hour just to see me or, the comic folks. And that is that, or they couldn't come to the panel because they didn't want to wait in line for an hour and a half or whatever. So I noticed that it seemed to me that panel attendance was down last year. Now it could be because there wasn't, but there was one panel that we had that had nobody show up in attendance or panelists. So I understand that it's a crossword. Like if they move the comic panels to the Westin, let's say, because that's the nearest hotel. So if they move them to the Westin, then it means that I'm gone from my table even longer, because instead of going to just across the room, I'm going to have to go to the other hotel to there. So I'm gone from my table even longer if I'm attending the comic panels.
Although they could open those habit trails that connect to the hotel for just the guests. I mean,
that's a thought. Again, that requires a lot more attention from attendees there. Plus, the last couple of years they've been doing renovations to the Westin, so some of those pathways have not been accessible as they have been in previous years. So, I mean, there's always but I do think that. The panels, the comic panels, I would be okay if they moved them out of America's Mart, because I do think that for people who want to just see a panel, it's a lot to ask for them to just, and whether or not they want to come see me as well, that's fine. But they could come see me at a panel outside of that as well. So I think that there's room to move us to another place. Now
the workshops too, the sewing workshops, those paid workshops. A lot of people couldn't get in through that line for the workshops they paid for.
Yeah.
Extra on top of their badge.
Yeah. And with more people, it's going to get even worse, because the line will get longer. And then the fire marshal will stop people from coming.
Exactly, and the line was easily at least an hour to get in last year, at least.
Got sometime there was some moments where it was longer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we threw the question out to everybody out there in the internet land, social media land, and man, did we get probably more responses than I've ever seen for anything else we've ever posted ever. Here at the Dragon Con Report podcast. And so, you guys have opinions. Who knew? But I think one of the biggest ones that I saw that I haven't had to deal with for a while, because I've been fortunate enough to be a guest, is registration. And Dragon Con is still one of the few conventions that you have to pick up your badge at registration. A lot of other bigger conventions, bigger than Dragon Con even, are mailing them out so that people have them right from the get-go. They don't have to wait at all. How do you guys feel about that addition or that suggestion?
I mean, here in Texas, all the cons I've gone to, including ones of the same size as Dragon Con, has been the same. I've always I've never had a badge mailed to me from any event I went to, so I don't know what that's like. But I mean, I know it doesn't help, but registration is so much better than when I first started.
Oh my God. Let's talk about that line for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I know it's bad. It can be bad in the morning, especially
it was
Thursday morning. People want to be first. They want to be first to get the badge, and so then everyone congregates at once, and that bogs it down. Mm-hmm. Or if they're not fully staffed at that moment in the registration hall, that bogs it down.
Or they've not hooked up the computers, or something's going on with the internet, that bogs it down. But it beats the time of years when the line would be wrapped around the Sheraton 3 times.
Sure.
Yeah. I've waited 6 hours my first year.
Yeah. I can remember waiting hours and hours and hours to pick up my badge that I had already paid for. Yes.
Yeah, I would pay full price to not stand in that pre-reg line.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was years that the cash paying on site line somehow went faster than the pre-reg
It was
line.
always faster.
Yeah.
It was always
faster.
To pay on
Oh, was it?
site
Oh, okay.
than it was to pre-reg.
Mhm.
It was always faster. I'm like,
Yeah.
sweet. I will pay the extra $100 to not have to wait a day to get my badge. Okay, that was my plan.
I mean,
I think it boils down to two things. One, a Facebook user just said it. They're worried about people trying to copy the badges. Let's be honest, it's a bunch of geeks and nerds. So I'm sure you give them, 5 minutes with a laser printer, they have a perfect copy.
The badges come out, fakes are being made. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I've
seen the fakes even
really?
with us
Just
picking
that
them
quick?
there on site. Yeah.
Oh,
There's somebody traveling with something.
Yeah,
to print those things out.
unless you get like barcodes on each badge and you're scanning each badge in certain areas, you're not going to spot the fakes because it's going to look close enough that it's going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have people like Mike being stopped and he's got a badge on, then the confusion just gets worse, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And then the other thing is, I wonder, and I'm sure it's not so expensive, but I would imagine that's going to be increased costs for Dragon Con, which would be increased costs for members like us. So that might explain some of the hesitation.
I've seen a lot of people say they're willing to pay the extra price if they could have it mailed out. I mean, sure, I'd probably do that too.
I think they would also be. I think they would also be like I said at the beginning, badges are non-transferable. But I think if they would be mailed out, they'd be transferred. Like, here you go. Like, here's my badge.
Yeah.
So I think that would make them transferable. But
I mean, they do check our ID when we go to badge pickup. You can't really do that by mail.
I think
bad it's brought up every year. I know they've discussed it internally.
I think as bad as Dragon Con sees in-person pickup as the path of least resistance. They probably just, I would think they've kind of made the pros and cons of switching to both.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the lesser of two evils for them if I had to take a guess.
Until they do a lockdown system somehow on scanning those badges, you're never going to find the fakes, and those fakes are going to be made within an hour of the badge designs getting out. And that's sad to say, but that's true because I've known some people who have done it and can't associate with them anymore, but I know they've done it.
I can't imagine how many fake ones are out at San Diego.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like the only place I can see them not really having a lot of fakes is maybe New York, because they have that system where you have to scan in. And
you've got to scan in. What I'm saying.
Yeah,
that'd be something like where,
that's putting chips in your badges.
Right.
Oh no! Dragon
That's going to open up a whole other can of worms. They're going to be tracking you wherever you go at Dragon Con.
You find us at the bar
scan your
every
arm.
night. They know where we are.
I know, we're at the con. Like I said, we got so many. I'm just going to throw a few out here, and then I want to hear from you guys and see if there's any that you guys heard about too. Someone says, for those who don't use Facebook, it's tough tracking down information about photo shoots, meetups, tracks, everything like that. They wish Dragon Con had a better networking solution.
They do. They have a Discord.
I was just about to say, I'm like, cue Jen with the Discord info.
There is also a Dragon Con Reddit group.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said if we could keep the rain outside of the hotels, it would be great.
Hilton. You should take some of that Nikolai Roof's money and buy a pipe or two, maybe.
I don't think you can blame Dragon Con for that one, unfortunately.
No. Who was casting Create Water as part of a LARP scenario in the Hilton? Whoever you are, applause to you. Applause.
Someone said, how does one improve upon perfection? So there we got a Dragon Con lover as is. Don't change a thing. There's reverse the escalators at the Hilton Skyway.
Okay, I saw some people agree with that. I don't get it. So somebody explain it to me.
At the okay, so when you approach when you're coming from the Marriott from the Hilton to reverse them, I don't know. Well, yeah, because you kind of have to. It is weird because you kind of have to go around and it sorry.
Going to the lobby thingy or whatever.
No, it's the other end.
Other end. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the other end where you kind of have to you have to go around and it gets confusing sometimes. I get that.
Well, they took away those escalators right there at the side. Hop on those.
Oh, in the Hilton,
the main lobby in the Hilton. They took those out, so now you've got to walk the long path or take the stairs down or wait forever for an elevator.
Yeah, and if if that escalator goes down,
you're stuck with stepping it. Yeah.
I mean, either way, I mean I don't know if that really, whatever. I'm not dismissing the idea. I'm certainly not dismissing it, but I'm not really sure what that
I don't think they're going to
accomplish it a lot.
Do anything with this.
I mean, that's a hotel. I think that's a
hotel issue, not a Dragon Con issue. Yeah.
Keep the attendance restriction.
They're not going to do that.
Limited. No.
Yeah, I've heard that one too.
Dragon Con's out to make money.
Hey, a lot of us would love to keep.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I would love to keep it at like 50, 60K. I think that's perfect.
Well, let me ask you this: would you pay twice as much to have less people, like half the people?
Yes.
If we still had the normal amount of guests as a regular year, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would, because I like being able to, when I go to the dealer's room, I like to be able to actually shop and not feel like I'm in the March of Never Lemmings.
Or be knocked out of the way by a backpack.
Yeah, or fairy wings or Gundam armor or whatever. Don't bring that crap into the dealer's room, people. It's being able to breathe and take your time and actually talk to a dealer or an artist in Artist Hour. That's some good stuff for a con attendee. Feeling like you're compressed and just being marched along down every aisle is not a good experience.
Well, trying to enjoy vendors when you're having a flight or fight moment happening the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just from the attendee and the shopper's point of view. It's also from the vendor's point of view, because my understanding, talking to a lot of my fellow artists and other vendors, they did better business-wise in the last couple of years with it restricted attendance than they did prior, because people could shop and buy stuff.
Shop. Yeah.
So, other suggestions? Some folks want better guests, of course.
That's every year.
That's every year.
Selling pre-reserved panel seats. That seems more like a VIP kind of situation. Second con suite at the Hilton.
I thought that one was actually not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea at all.
The second con suite?
No.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of people every year are like, there's a con suite, and it took me 8 years
It's true.
to find it. Like, I knew it existed, but I never could find it.
Second floor of the Hilton, babe. Second floor of the Hilton.
And Hyatt.
Hyatt. Sorry, Hyatt. They're trying to stay from my room. Go away.
But I also know the spot it's at in the Hyatt is really difficult for some people to be able to get to.
It's just in a weird spot. It's like
not everyone can use that little hidden stair panel, and we all know how waiting for an elevator is. So
the elevator wait-a-thon has not been that bad in the Hyatt lately, but of course with increased attendance, it's going to be. So there's that.
And going back to the pre-registration, the pre-sale thing, I've heard of something similar at a con, but they weren't selling it. Basically, when you paid for the con and you were registered, for the larger panels, you kind of pre-registered just for that panel. So the idea was you had a seat reserved. You weren't paying anything in. It was almost kind of like registering for a course at college. It's like, okay, we're opening up registration. Everybody who wants to go see Patrick Stewart, jump in the queue and see if you can get your seat reserved. And then I think you just had a barcode on your phone or something that you showed to scan. Get in. Now, I don't know the technology behind it, but
I mean, sure, but I think that's a lot of moving parts there.
Exactly.
I think it would create, honestly, at Dragon Con, I think it would create more problems than those that it would solve.
Yeah.
Agreed.
This one's
the
very
escalators
specific.
are always going down at con. I saw that from a Facebook user. If the escalators are still working by Saturday, it's a good con.
I know, right?
You should expect them to go down during con. That's just the way con is.
Coming
Boy,
soon,
that
cult of the
that would have been
escalators.
scary, stepping on it and having it drop down. Oh, no.
man.
Oh no.
This one's very specific. The suggestion is to get the Gothsicles back. Okay, some Gothsicles fan, woohoo! Let's see, one-way aisles in the vendors areas.
That requires more manpower.
Yeah, somebody's got to police it.
Without yelling.
Yeah, without yelling and screaming at people. And people need to obey what security says.
We've kind of talked about this one. Prioritize and enforce wheelchairs and mobility aids in elevator access, and better advertise all stair and escalator locations as alternatives for able-bodied people.
That would, more signage would help. It's always good.
More signage
Absolutely.
would be good. Except when you have too many people and you can't see the sign.
Yeah.
Someone says no face masks. That was kind of the way it was last year. So I don't think.
Yeah, it was about 50-50.
Of course, you get your folks.
Last year.
You get your folks saying move the whole thing to the Georgia World Congress Center.
No.
No.
That comes
I hear that one
too.
every year also.
It does.
I hear that one every year.
The con
that's
will
tradition.
open at 10 a.m. and the con will close at 7 p.m. every day.
And then we have to really trek back to the hotels for any type of evening stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Moving all artists back to the Hyatt bottom floor instead of America's Mart. It says, I bet the artists would appreciate it too. They could go straight to their rooms, from their rooms to their booths. It's like, I stay at the Westin. So I couldn't, if no matter where it is, I have to.
But also, isn't part of the reason they were originally moved is because the age-old problem of no one knows there's an art show at the Hyatt?
There was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I think the both were expanding, wanted room to grow, and they didn't have any. You couldn't have both the art show and the pop artist alley there too. So you had to move one. So they moved the comics and pop artist alley to the fourth floor or the top floor of America's Mart, and I think that the vibe still seems to be good, but I do know some people hate it, both artist wise, vendor wise, and attendee wise. So volunteers directing the back of the line with a banner of sorts, identifying the panel or event.
That would be good.
That would be nice.
Manpower.
I have seen some volunteers last minute make their own poster board signs with a marker.
Yes.
End of line here.
Yeah. Because especially when your lines crisscross, like the last year, the lines for the Cybertronics and the line for Rocky Horror Picture Show, where the back of each line was on top of each other to where you could not tell which line you were in. So.
Yeah, that's messy.
Except based on makeup.
Nope.
Someone suggests they make during the convention they make days last 30 hours so they could sleep more and not miss shit.
Well, I'm sure if we got some wizards can get on that.
Take that up with your creator.
the first comment is, you'd somehow still miss shit.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
True.
Hey, Mike, did you see any about changing the date? That was one I used to hear about, pushing it back later in the year.
Not in this time, no. But I've heard people.
I did see one to move it more into the cooler weather time. But do we? Most people said from having rain and a hurricane to having a freak snowstorm and tornadoes. I mean,
yeah,
I know, right?
I've heard want to do it A for the weather and B for less competition, because then we're not fighting the football, the Pride, and the 3 other events that go on Labor Day weekend.
There will always be something else going on in Atlanta. You just need for whatever weather you think we're not going to have, you should prepare for that.
But I do think the one thing about Labor Day weekend and having it that weekend in particular helps the parade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be really hard to have a parade on just some random weekend.
I mean, it's also hard to have
you have it some holiday weekend, I think.
Yeah, you have to have it a holiday weekend, and there's only so many of those, and no one's going to go to a for this long during Thanksgiving and Christmas weekend. We got too much other family.
Somebody already tried the Thanksgiving one. It did not go.
No, it's not gonna work.
Ooh.
And you can't really compete with Halloween. It's its own thing, So You know,
someone said last year was my first year, despite living so close. I just love the friendly atmosphere. I don't think I've ever felt so welcome at a con. Don't ever change that. We are not suggesting that they change that at all.
No, please don't. Please don't
I mean, that's what we
the
love,
reason
and I'm
a lot
glad
of us
that
go.
someone got a good experience there.
The fans have already done that. Tuesday is Friday, sir.
Yeah. Wednesday is the new Thursday, so I guess now Tuesday is going to be the new Wednesday.
The con before we even stopped working to go downtown to the con. She lives 5,000 miles away. So.
Yeah, I live 3 states away, and I get there Wednesday at
it's like messaging us. Where are you guys? I'm like, I'm at work. What are you doing?
Here's one I saw. Here's one I saw that I think I can get behind. So, a few people said this: bring back Dragon Con After Dark. Bring back adult programming after hours.
I mean, a lot of us make our own now, but yeah, it would be nice to have some official things.
It would be nice.
Yeah, every now and then some people kind of experiment, but yeah, I'd like to see it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some
really
Con After Darkish kind of things. There are some over 18 only panels. There's the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's the
there's the bunny hutch that's 21 and over.
The bunny hutch.
Mm-hmm.
There is party. DJ parties that go every night until 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah, there's adult content. It's just not that kind of adult content.
Well, and it's also not
think
things that every adult back. Is in. Like, I don't want to be at a rave till 5 a.m.
Yeah,
right.
As Jen pointed out, there was a couple people who said, please quit asking if you're not going to make any of these suggested changes. We are not the person. We are not in any position whatsoever that we can make changes. We are just having an open discussion and trying to keep it as positive as possible and as constructive as possible. There's a lot of, I found, non-constructive ideas for suggestions that people had.
Well, there is in every discussion.
That doesn't mean if I haven't read your suggestion that you posted that I think it was unreasonable. So I don't want you to think that necessarily, because we got, like I said, a ton.
Well,
Did you guys see any of the
150
others?
Comments?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Did you guys see any of the others that were out there that that you wanted to point out? Anybody?
We can't ask the con to give us a free gecko with every badge. Can we do that?
Well, I did see. I did see, and somebody just brought this up in the chat that somebody had made a suggestion about they think we should get rid of the Sheraton as a host hotel.
No,
because after they pick up their badge, they don't go do anything else there. Which, as a newbie at the Sheraton as of last year, and that is now my new home at Dragon Con. I just want to say I used to have the same mindset of once I pick up my badge, I'm not doing anything there because what is there to do there? When in actuality, I was too lazy to go back there to go to any of the events there. I got to experience some of the events there and the food trucks and all that. Now, hi Deborah, and I got to say that, like, I totally get it now. It's. I should have not been lazy before. It's totally worth it. The merch store for the con is better there. The line is much better than dealing with it at the Marriott.
The Brit Track.
Yeah, the pool, the pinups by the pool party was great. The food trucks that were open all hours of the night when I was coming home from.
Yeah, those food trucks are really fun.
They're
nice.
Yes, they're.
If you're tired of the stuff in the food court, go to the Sheraton. Get yourself some food truck food. It's great.
Go to the Greek food truck. It was the bomb. Euro loaded fries with everything. but again, like, getting rid of a host hotel does not really make sense. We need another host hotel. We need an additional one, in my opinion, to give space for the way that the con wants to grow. And I believe somebody mentioned it earlier in the chat, and I believe it's been mentioned previously by folks from the convention that they do want to keep growing, but the only way they can, or go back to what the pre-2020 attendance was, is they have to expand their footprint.
Right.
And the way to do, the way to do that is either we have to take over more of America's Mart because that's a place they're already at. Once the construction's done or renovations are done, you can move back into the building 1 that we were originally building 2. Right. Yeah, the one that's right there off of Peachtree Street, and or add another host hotel, whether that's the Ritz is kind of an unofficial. it's an overflow, but a lot of con attendees and some guests stay there. I know there's a few other in the circle that maybe have
a lot of the other hotels in the area don't
space.
have any. They don't have convention space is the problem. They're just hotels.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's really the issue with them becoming official hotels is they don't have ballrooms or anything like that. So that's why people manage to get reservations there because they're less desirable, but they're close to the con. So hey,
I don't know. A lot of those overflows sell out just as fast as
they do.
The main 5.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, as I pointed out earlier, we are going to talk all about the host hotels in a lot more detail in the next episode in February. Another suggestion that we got is for some ideas for some new tracks, which we will also talk a little bit about next episode. So there's some really exciting things happening next episode. Those are teasers. But before before we conclude,
where are we going to put them?
Before we conclude, I do have a piece of news that I actually forgot to mention that is coming up before our next recording, I think. And anybody in the Atlanta area is probably going to be aware of this. But there is a Geek Garage sale presented by MomoCon and DragonCon that is going to be held at the Georgia Tech Exhibition Hall, which is on downtown Atlanta. It's $5 purchase for attendees. But you can get, they have a lot of vendors. There's a lot of items you can get, T-shirts, pops, fun fandom stuff, a bunch of stuff. You can sign up for tables still. There's a link for that. You go to Facebook and put in Geek Garage Sale. It's Sunday, February 19th from 11 to 5 p.m. So check that out. It's sort of a pre-DragonCon, MomoCon event. That you can get some cool stuff, find some cool stuff, and hang out with some cool people. So,
and maybe the line will be shorter to get in.
Yes. Let's hope. No, we can't promise, but let's hope. So,
I would be going if I lived there or if I was visiting when it's happening. I saw the event, was like, why don't we have something like that here?
Yeah, same.
So with that said, unfortunately, we are out of time, and so we must draw a close to this, the first episode of the 2023 DragonCon Report. I want to give a big shout out to our station crew, starting with you, Channing. You made it through your first episode of the season.
Yes, thank you. And real quick, I want to thank chat for keeping me. I did misspeak. BritTrack used to be in Sheridan, so I had a flashback. BritTrack is in Hilton now. So again, thank you, chat, for keeping me honest. Wouldn't be sure if I didn't make one major mistake. So,
Channing, tell people where they can find you online to see what you're doing outside of this show.
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Channing Sherman, just my name. My group is the Black Geeks of DragonCon on Facebook. I should warn you, even though I'm on TikTok, you will not see me dance. Just want to throw that out there.
Wait a minute. Okay. All right. That's I'm sad about that, really. So is that the
last time I tried to dance, I think I summoned a demon. So
So okay. So it's a feature, not a bug.
Lord, heal Channing Sherman. Lord.
Thanks, Jen.
Always a pleasure to be here. And excited to be back for another season.
And things are lively in the meetups group, I see.
Well, of course. Always, it's never a dull moment in there.
It just sounded really
if you could see the admin thread discussions that happened, it's should we allow this post? Should we step into this conversation? But yes, folks,
so if you want DragonCon After Dark content, go to Jen's Facebook group.
Hey, only some of it. Only some of the content is that. Yes, you can find me, folks, a lot of the time over in the DragonCon parties, meetups, and more group. Again, not affiliated with the con, but we help folks navigate, whether it's the app, concert performances, parties that people are throwing that are not officially on the schedule, and they feel like inviting the public to. We don't out people's private parties without their permission, so you're only going to see a room party if the person throwing it wants you to know about it in there. But yeah, you can join us on there. I'm also part of the Blurred Nerds podcast here on the ESO network. We are on hiatus right now, but I'll be back soon. And on most of the socials, you can find me by my handle, Lil Bit Odd, LIL Bit Odd.
All right. And thank you, Darren. We're at it again.
I know, Mr. Gordon. Can you imagine? 12 years. 12 years of this.
12 years. And where can people find you?
Well, I'm on a podcast called Legion of Substitute Podcasters, where my friends and I talk about DC Comics, Legion of Superheroes comic books when DC decides to publish them. So we got that going on. And then I'm on ESO as part of the Rainbow. Our next movie that we're going to be discussing about is the LGBTQ classic Victor Victoria. So nothing like a little Julie Andrews to get your gay on. So
that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that one too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, thank you, producer Faber, wherever you are, working your magic behind the scenes. We really appreciate everything that you're doing for us this year. So yeah.
Oh,
I know, right?
That'll teach.
I didn't even. Did I say something wrong that time?
He was getting you back from the beginning.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, we try to cover all we can with these episodes, these shows. But to keep up with the latest news, please check out the official Dragon Con websites. Again, we are not officially associated with the con in any way. We just love it so much. We love talking about it. So you can. If you want to get involved with Dragon Con officially, check out their official website as well as their official social media. We're a proud member of the ESO network. We have a TeePublic store filled with all kinds of cool stuff, including a very cool design with the Dragon Con Report logo. There's a link for that in this episode's show notes and at the top of the ESO network page, esonetwork.com. We also have a Patreon that you can access there as well, a Patreon. So thanks, patrons, for your support. We really, 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 really appreciate it. We love you guys. And for those people who want to support us in a way that doesn't cost you any money, feel free. We are on all the social media. You can get our access to our video through Facebook and YouTube. All the audio podcast wise, just like and share. We love that.
And subscribe.
Yes, thank you. Subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Yeah, that's a specific YouTube one. But
subscribe.
Yes. Yeah, like, subscribe, and share. There you go. And of course, you can comment, talk to us directly. You can send us an email at feedback@dragonconreport.com. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Mike Gordon, again, and it's been my pleasure. Take care, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you at the con.
Woohoo!